What's up, everyone? Tyler Piperman here with Phil DiMartino from 5Tool Productions. This is another 5Tool video prod pod. Yes. So today, topic of conversation, it's kind of a fun one because it's one that we've started paying attention to a little bit more and more. And that's when you create content, especially video content, stop thinking as just being good for social, right? And the reason for that is a lot of times, you brought it up. We feel like marketers from the digital perspective, and I literally just wrote a blog 2 days ago about Google turning 20. Yeah. And, search was really all digital marketers focused on. And then with social coming up, people have said, all right, let's create all this content. And you know what? Now we want to get it seen. How come my numbers aren't there for social right now? How come my blog post, no one's seeing it on social? No one's seeing it on Facebook. No one's clicking on it on Facebook. But guess what? Search is still there. It is. No, don't forget about search, basically, is the topic of today's conversation.
Yeah, and what's really funny when you bring that up, and the first thing I'm thinking of is like, okay, so when Facebook and Twitter and all these, social networks first started to rise to marketers, into prominence with marketers, what was the main reason that they were so popular? It's because they were free. Yeah. It was free to use and to reach your audience. They're not free anymore. Facebook, if you want to reach your audience, we've talked about it a ton. It's not free anymore. It's free to post. Yeah. But you need to pay to reach your audience.
If you want it to get seen and you want it to be engaged with, it has to be good, and you have to pay for it to actually go to people anymore. I mean, organic reach is really not a thing anymore when it comes to social media. I'm sorry. I have a problem with it because it's really not there unless you have a big brand already, right?
Right. So it's fallen off a lot. I mean, yeah. And that's not, so all of this to say, it's just funny because that's where people started from. It's like they flocked there because marketers are like, I have a limited budget. This is a way for me to reach hundreds of thousands of people for free. It's like this golden ticket, right? And obviously that's changed a little bit.
So every brand is there.
Right. It's oversaturated.
Exactly.
So, right. When we look... So the interesting thing, and I'll let you talk about it a little bit more.
I don't want to talk about it. I just want you to talk about
it. our web traffic, which is ultimately, so there's a couple of different things at play here. Social is so important along the journey, and for building trust and building a relationship.
Oh, yeah, you can't neglect it.
And traffic is important. It's still hugely important. So this is all additive to that because ultimately content marketing is something we believe really strongly in. But when you look at your numbers through Google Analytics and who's actually coming to your site and conversions and where your leads are coming from, we've noticed for us that still a huge chunk of that is coming from organic search from the written content on our site.
Yeah, I mean, it's at some points almost triple the amount of traffic that we generate on a month-to-month basis from search than it is from social. And a lot of the things that people are clicking on and bringing into our site are the blog posts, are the videos that we've created with the blog posts kind of wrapped around them. That's what's been successful for us. So, I feel like sometimes so many people say content marketing and they immediately jump to social. Content marketing sits in the middle of emails, digital, everything. Social is a part of it, but it's one arm of 12 other pieces, and search being a big part of it. Content itself affects so many different components of kind of the funnel itself that you stop thinking as just a social thing. There is social media marketing, but that's not what content marketing is. It's kind of all of the above, and it's, Inbound literally just wrapped up the conference itself. Inbound itself is bringing people to your website. Don't forget and make sure you look at your numbers on a day-to-day basis, not necessarily day-to-day, but at least once a month to see what's working, what's generating people to kind of walk through the door. And for the last kind of handful of companies that I've worked for or kind of looked at their numbers on a fairly regular basis, search is still the driving factor. Search is driving people to the site, and search is driving the conversions as well. And one of the, this is a word we just used in another podcast when we were recording, is passive. And I like to think of, social is passive, right? You're passing the time, you're kind of going
literally passing
you're
the
literally
time.
passing through post after post after post. Whereas search, you are actively pursuing an answer, an outcome, a specific thing. So if you are looking for boats, I'll say boats. I don't know why, but we'll say boats. If you are looking for boats, when you're on search, you are actively looking for boats. And right now we're seeing more long tail searches take place. Obviously, with the advent of like Siri on your phone,
voice to
and
text,
the Echo and Alexa and things like that, all these voice-based searches are coming up more and more, and it's generating a new way of search as well. But when it comes down to it, we stop neglecting it and stop forgetting about it as a part of your content marketing strategy as a whole.
That's a really good point, and I think that's an important thing to say. It's to frame it that way. I think it's important. What you're saying is so important, and I think a lot of people have forgotten it. I've heard a lot of people talk about the idea of like, in 2018, your Facebook page is your website, right? Like people say that a lot now. Or like your Instagram page.
I
is your
don't need
website.
a website. I need a Facebook page.
Right. It's not necessarily the case
Yeah.
for a couple of reasons. Because first of all, there's an element of trust that comes when you can like actually show off more than just what anyone can do. Like build a website and show everything off there. But when you talk about search, one of the things that we find is when you look at like what are the terms that are driving people to our page through organic search, it's a lot of times about social media, first of all.
Yeah.
But it's
It's actually an organic reach. When we talk about organic reach, it really does well.
But it's people who are further along down the journey who are thinking about like, what am I going to do to help my company get seen more? And that's ultimately what we're here to try to do. So it's like, sure, engaging with people on social is great and we can put this stuff out there. But when people go out and punch into Google terms about trying to use content marketing and video and live streaming to help do a better job getting in front of their clients and their potential customers, we want them to see us. And to do that, we need to have a good amount of written content on our site about that.
And I always go back to, people talk about providing value. Search is the most important point to me, to provide value to someone, because they are actively searching something. And
they're raising their hand and saying, I want this. Can you be there to say we can give it to you?
The fastest rising term out there is near me. Something near me. And I think about yourself, the end user right now. How many times have you said, restaurant near me, bathroom near me, McDonald's near me, beaches near me, fun things to do for kids near me, right? You use that all the time, but those are people that are actively searching for you to provide value to them, to help them out. So you want to rank higher for those long tail terms that will help them get their answer. And you're seeing Google, they've changed their search a little bit more, is that the one that answers the question the best usually comes up not only first, but also has your Google snippet in there as well. That it's not just your meta description that you put in. No, it's actually trying to answer the question for it without them actually clicking on the link. So if someone was to ask the question of, why is organic search down? Or why is organic reach on Facebook down? Can you answer that question for them? So don't just think of keywords, and keyword stuffing is something we talked about, and we'll go into this more from a video perspective as well. But don't just think about, I want to get seen for these. How can you answer those questions? That's how search is working now. Answer the question for them. Provide that value.
That's a really good point, and I think that it's important to remember that, because in the early days of when people were really paying attention to SEO and Google, that's really what it was all about, was keywords and keyword stuffing. And now, you're going to get penalized if you do that, right? You're actually going to get penalized in search if you do that. So it is really important.
If you're a home improvement company and you say Windows 1,000 times, it's not going to work.
Right? The machines have become smart enough to understand when you're cheating. So no, you have to have fully formed sentences. You have to be making sense. You have to be making salient points, and you have to be answering the questions, and that's really important. You mentioned video. Part of this too, the way that content can help feed all of this, is through transcription. So this podcast is a 10 or a 15-minute podcast, whatever it is. If we transcribe this podcast and put up that conversation, first of all, there's a couple of ways it can help. You can, kind of put up that whole conversation in a post, so if someone wants to read it, they can. And also there's tons of keywords in there that are important, and answers to a lot of questions are in there too. But also beyond that, you can also take snippets of it as quotes and use them as the building blocks for other blog posts and written content as well.
And it goes back to the idea of be where the person is at that point in time. They might not be able to watch a video. They might be at work and they should be having a video on. They might not be able to listen to that podcast at that moment in time because they don't have their headphones with them. But they might be able to read, like you said, the transcription. Phil said,
Yeah.
Tyler said, right? And some people do read that. They will go through it or just try to be able to sort through and say, I mean, there's been plenty of times that I've listened to a podcast on someone's website, and then I want to know when they talk about a specific topic. I'll scroll down in the transcription. I'll find where it is because they've done a great job of time coding it. I say, I'm going to 18 minutes and 3 seconds because that's when they start talking about the topic that I'm interested in.
Yep.
So that's providing value to the end user, making it easy for them to find those things as well.
Yeah, and from a transcription standpoint, it's easier than ever to get those done. There's plenty of services out there that are ranging from really cheap to not very expensive, basically, in order to get transcripts and captions
You go from
done.
10 cents a minute to a
Couple bucks
a minute, depending upon how accurate you want.
Right.
And the ones that are less accurate, you'll kind of giggle at and laugh and say, wow, these aren't really very good right now. We run into that. But the other piece of this that we kind of talked about before we jumped on here is the whole idea of people are doing more searches through the Alexas, through the Siri and things like that. It's only going to be a matter of time before videos start being indexed the exact same way, where you almost don't even have to transcribe it.
Right.
They're going to start being able to see, okay, where does this video actually provide value for it? For this answer, put this video up here because they talk all about it inside there without even the transcription being there.
Yep. I mean, it's like 95% of the way there because, you know, Google via YouTube will automatically provide, not very good, but will automatically provide, you know, a transcript in the form of captions on your video. So you got to assume that's really close.
Yeah, it's wild. It's cool. So it kind of goes back to kind of wrap it up and put a bow on it. Don't neglect search. Now, a lot of you obviously don't. If you're watching this, chances are you do make sure that you're paying attention to the search perspective, but don't get so wrapped up in your numbers on social that it brings you to forget about what's going on in search. Because if you go back and look at analytics and you see, you'll be pleasantly surprised that search, it is still a great driving contributor to your overall marketing strategy.
Written content, keywords still matter.
Exactly. Awesome stuff. He's Phil. I'm Tyler. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it very much. I'll see you next time.